Welcome to Smashing PBs, brought to you by Forty Thieves Nut Butters, New Zealand's best peanut butter for fueling everyday and epic adventures. I'm your host, Shyr Godfrey. Join me for inspiring conversations with Kiwis who push boundaries, do things differently, and smash their personal bests. I'm so excited to introduce my very first guest, Brent Godfrey. He's my husband, a high-performance athlete and co-owner of Forty Thieves, and he's kindly agreed to be my guinea pig for episode 1. It made perfect sense to get you, the other co-founder of Forty Thieves, and also my husband, to be our very first guest.
Thanks, Shay. Thanks for making me the guinea pig of your first podcast. But no, it's very inspiring to see what you've already achieved.
You live and breathe the idea of smashing PBs.
Yeah.
I love the idea that we can all get out there and improve on ourselves and become our own personal bests.
Yeah.
And I thought having you on the show will give everybody a bit of context about some of the behind the scenes of Forty Thieves and also a little bit deeper into you as well.
Okay.
So welcome.
Cool. Well, let's get stuck into it.
All right. So you've been active your whole life. Swimming, water polo, track, surf lifesaving.
Yeah.
Have I missed anything?
Cross country.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you did a bit of tennis and you dabbled in a few other sports.
Yeah, I think sport's just been a massive part of my life growing up ever since a child, since school. And then, even getting into my career after university, sport's always been there on the side. And it's just been such a big part of my life and such a wonderful outlet.
What role did it play in your life growing up? Do you have any, if you can imagine yourself as a child, what were the mornings like, getting ready? Paint the picture of a little blonde Brenty.
Growing up, swimming was my main sport. And I think the role of sport was, especially as a school kid, it kept you out of trouble. You'd go to school and then straight after you're into sport. So for me, it was swimming before in the morning and then swimming in the afternoon as well. Especially as a teenager, I made sure I kind of hanged out with the right crowd. So other athletes that were, really focused, had a lot of drive, ambition. I guess it taught you discipline. It kind of just shaped your day to day. I guess all the spare time you had, you slotted sports in. Yeah.
Actually, I think there's so many times where I bring up TV shows from the 90s and you didn't watch them, and it's because you were too busy playing sport all the time. So there's so many things that I'll say, remember when this particular TV show was on? You're like, no, I was playing sport.
Yeah, it's pretty true. You'd wake up 5:30. I remember going to swimming. Winter was horrendous. It was like cold in the mornings. Get in the pool. Then by 8 o'clock you'd be at school. You'd finish up at 2:30, and then go home for a quick hour, and then back in the pool again at 4 o'clock, and you'd be finished at about 5:30 again. Come home. I remember just eating so much as well. Like I would eat half a loaf of bread and before
peanut butter, right?
before dinner, and I would eat peanut butter on bread. My mum, was concerned about like how much I was eating in terms of the grocery bill, and she wanted something that was nutritious and that could fill me up. And I literally actually started eating peanut butter on bread, and then I'd have a full plate of dinner, do some homework, and by 8 o'clock I was back in bed, conked, passed out and ready for the next day.
So I think most people that know you now know you as a runner, but as you say, swimming actually played a really big part in your upbringing. From my understanding, you trained for many years, as you say, twice a day, but then one day you just stopped.
Yeah, swimming was amazing. The community is incredible. You're kind of all in it together. It's not the easiest sport. And I remember we'd always get to the pool half an hour early. We'd have our rubber bands, we'd warm up, we'd be doing our stretches, building in a bit of strength. And just warming up outside of the pool, and we'd have like really good chats, and we really got to know each other as a community. From like the 10-year-olds right up to like 18, 20-year-olds. We're part of the squad.
Did you look up to the older guys?
Yeah. There's a really good mate of mine who I'm still in touch with now. And he was very inspiring. The swimmers, were like really good inspiring people and
hardworking,
yeah, just incredible drive. And yeah, then after the warm up, we'd jump into the pool. We'd be swimming up and down, and it's monotonous. It's quite a different environment when you're in there. Like everything is blocked out, all the noise is blocked out, and you just hear the water whispering past your ears. And you've got this black line, the solid black line. You just go up and down. And you just know this pool so well, you know, almost if there's a little bit of sand that's dropped in, or if there's a bird poo that's dropped in, you know exactly where it is in the swimming pool. And you do your tumble turns and you're up and down, and you can almost like count your strokes, and you could probably swim the lane with your eyes closed, you know it that well.
Sounds quite a bit like meditation, actually.
Yeah, we talk about mindfulness today. I think that was like a very early stage of mindfulness for me. You got so many different pressures. You got, social pressures and school pressures and delivering on homework, and having that outlet for an hour and a half in the morning and evening. It was literally like a bit of meditation. But at the same time, you're working the body, and at the end of it, like you never want, I remember my mom taking me to the pool, and I a lot of the time, especially when it's cold, it's wet, it's raining, and it's just like, I do not want to go swimming today. She'd be like, "You going? I'm paying for the lessons. You going?" And it's expensive. So we would go. I'd jump in the pool. After about 2-3 laps, I'm like, "I've got this."
Nice.
At the end of the session, like you never came out of a session and said like, "I wish I didn't do that." Like you always feel so good afterwards. You've got the endorphins running. You're feeling warm. You're with your mates, and it was just such a great feeling.
That's so interesting. So why did you stop? What age were you? Got to your early 20s? Is that when you stopped?
Yeah, so I started swimming really young. We had a pool in our house, and I could swim at 3 already. Took on early squad swimming at like 6 years old, and then from about 12 onwards we started training like every day, and 15 it was twice a day in the pool. By the time I got to 18, I was sort of nearing the peak. 17, 18 was the peak of my swimming career, and I'd finished school, got into university, and I did 2 weeks at orientation, of university orientation. I'd never been a drinker, but there was a booze bus, what they called back then. It was like a double-decker booze bus, and we'd go on a pub crawl. And I remember getting a little bit drunk, took 2 weeks off, enjoyed the orientation, and I thought I could get back in the pool after that and continue from where I left off. And I really remember this feeling because I jumped in the pool after 2 weeks, and I was always the leader in my lane. So in a squad, you've got different lanes, and it's all seated in terms of priority, in terms of speed. And I was like either in the fastest or the second fastest lane, and I would always be leading my lane. But after taking 2 weeks off, I got back in the pool, and I had the next guy behind me like tickling my toes, and you did that if you're too slow. So it was like letting the guy in front know, hey, you're too slow, my turn to take over leading the lane. And I was just like, it was just like defeating. And I was like, I can't even take 2 weeks out, and your performance starts to drop already. And I was at, I guess, a pivotal moment in my life where I would either continue with this extremely hard training or make that decision to like have a social
live your youth.
Yeah, enjoy university and the rewards that come with it. And I think at that moment I decided I'm probably not going to continue with swimming, and I'd reached the top goal. And to get to that next level, I'd made the provincial team, and to get to the Olympic, to get into the Olympic team was another level which I didn't see myself getting into. So I made the decision then, and I've hardly swum in the pool since.
The funny thing is, you say you've hardly swum in the pool, but every time you do get in a pool, you just glide. You look like a fish. So it's obviously technique that just stays with you forever. Even I know you've done a couple of triathlons, and people often struggle with the swim leg.
Yeah.
But it's such a second skin to you that
Yeah.
you'll like jump in the pool, in the ocean or wherever the triathlon takes you.
Yeah.
And you'll just smash out that leg, and somehow it's still forever a part of you.
Yeah, I think once you've got the style and the stroke, you do have a level of efficiency. as long as it's less than a kilometre, the distance, I could probably maintain it. I've done a few short course triathlons, and they've been about a 400-metre swim, so technically still a sprint. So I've been able to get it out the way pretty quickly.
Oh, well, look, I'm for someone who, as I say, not an athlete, but just, dabbles in a bit of running, to get to that level is just extraordinary. And then
Thanks.
I think it's just understanding that it seems like, but you were nearly there, but it's not that. It's not that. That's not the case. It's you actually have to continue at that high level constantly all the time. Yeah. And with that comes a sacrifice of so much other stuff. So, I guess you wanted to enjoy your 20s, enjoy university, go out partying, meet young people and have fun. And I guess it's when we are all watching the Olympics, it's a good reminder how much those guys have had to sacrifice to get in that pool.
Yeah. And even the level today, the youth of today, like they're pushing new barriers. Like, we thought we were like at the frontier where we were at when we were training, and now you look at the distances that the kids are doing in the pool today. Like a 10K session is pretty normal now.
Wow!
But back then it was like you'd do a few of those over winter, and that was a big effort.
Amazing. Well, so back to running, which is your current discipline. Do you have a memory of when maybe a race from when you were a child? Or, a moment where you realised you're actually quite good at that?
Yeah, that was a good question. So I think the very first memory I had was I was about 6 years old. I was at primary school, and it was our first ever cross-country race. And the course was run along the 100-metre track out around the block and finish up back on the school grounds. And there's a whole bunch of us all started on the line, and we went out the school 100-metre track, school gate together. We're all jostled together, running together like in a bit of a pack, all these little 6-year-old kids. And I remember feeling that little bit of pressure, a little bit of discomfort, and I thought, I'm just going to keep pushing that. Like if I want to win or do well, I need to just keep pushing that. I didn't know at the time what that meant. But as I was running, like, I guess 50 meters went by, and there's like fewer kids around me. Another few hundred meters went by, and there's like one or two kids next to me, and I just kept going. I saw the first marshal turn past, went past that first marshal, went down to the next marshal, and all of a sudden I looked behind, and there's no one else around me. And it was this bizarre feeling of being alone up at the front and not quite understanding or comprehending it.
Probably thinking, where did everybody go?
Yeah, because as a kid, you're constantly involved with your mates, and you're very social, and then all of a sudden you feel this sense of being alone, and it was just like, whoa, what is that? And then coming through and finishing up, running down the 100-meter track on your own, it was just like this massive rush. You had the parents all shouting and cheering you on, and it was just this incredible rush. And that was the first race I'd run and won it, and from there it was just like this natural high that I'd never experienced before, and that was my very first memory of actually like a competitive race.
That's incredible. 6 years old, and it was already that's that whole nature versus nurture. In your case, well, I guess it's always a combination, but you realised pretty early on that you were naturally capable, and then I guess you had to put in all the work to continue it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I think a lot of that I could probably attribute to swimming from like a young age, like building a strong heart and lungs, and swimming is just such a great foundation, and you can transition it to so many other sports that are involved with cardio.
Well, I am fascinated with the correlation between pushing yourself physically and how that impacts the rest of your life. So I would love to hear your thoughts on how, running 40 Thieves, the day-to-day, as operations and finance director, how sport may have helped you.
Running a business is not easy. And I think if you were to compare that and like maybe take some learnings, being a competitive swimming was not easy.
Yes.
You got to be completely dedicated for a long time and be prepared to work really hard. I think there's lots of different elements. Like, one, you have to be dedicated. understand what the vision is and motivation, and have the drive to push towards that goal, and knowing that it will eventually pay dividends. So in my swimming career, it was like to try beat your personal best or win races. And I think same in business, we've got our goals and we want to get to them. And it's something that, you and I do every 2 months. We sit down and we look at what are our strategic goals. And we've got sort of, like you're saying, 4 different buckets. We've got sales and marketing and brand. Those are the 2 buckets there. And then we've got our team, which we look at, which is, how do we create the best high performance team and the culture that goes with that? And then the finance and operations piece. So it's like, and it all comes together. And I guess we translate those long-term strategic goals into the day-to-day. And when you look back and you see like what we've achieved, it's just that natural rush again you get from starting this business.
I love that comparison. I guess on paper, you're so right. Like when we write down everything that Forty Thieves has achieved so far, it's quite incredible. But the reality or the behind the scenes is that the day-to-day is pretty... it can throw anything at you.
Yeah.
Could you describe a day in the life of running Forty Thieves?
Yeah, so I guess like we've got those 2 months objectives the more longer term goals that we try create, which is 6, 12, 24 months. And that all falls into what we're doing on the day-to-day. But then the reality is chaos. It's constant firefighting. And while you're chiseling away at those longer term goals, you get an email in from a supplier who can't deliver jars, or you've had to all of a sudden drop everything to create a new production plan because we've got this massive export order that we need to deliver for Singapore, or
a machine breaks.
the hoist has stopped working and all of a sudden got to fix it quickly or try and get a maintenance crew to fix it, or the production line, the filling machine stopped working. And you've just got so many hats. And I think at the current stage of our business is, yes, we're growing really fast and we are getting to a bigger size. But we still very much in between like middle management and senior management. So we're very much hands-on and doing the day-to-day, but then also trying to drive the vision and mission of the business as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Maybe for those listeners who actually haven't heard of Forty Thieves Nut Butters yet, maybe you could give just a quick snapshot of where we're at right now in the business, year 9.
So this has probably been the most exciting year of starting the business. And it's amazing that after 9 years in that we're still getting so excited about what we're doing at Forty Thieves. We've recently got onto the warehouse. We're now selling in the warehouse. We've just had a category review with foodstuffs. We've had our peanut butter core ranged in all New Worlds and all pack and saves, which is a massive win. Up until now, we've only had 6 pack and saves on board, and now we're going to be in 45 pack and saves throughout the country. We've already seen 500% growth in pack and saves, and I mean, I think this year is going to even be better than that. We've taken on a few new overseas markets. We are now in South Korea, and we've also been selling into Singapore, and we've just been ranged in Fair Price. So we're already in cold storage, which is one main supermarket in Singapore, and the other main supermarket's in Fair Price. So we're going to now be in both, which is a huge win. And then we're in Taiwan, Malaysia, and Jaya Gross in Malaysia. And we've got some other opportunities that we're looking, as you know, that you're currently working on overseas. So yeah, it's just been amazing to see all this growth, and it's such a fun brand to work with as well. I guess like it's so cool, like creating the product on the operation side, and becoming more efficient over time with better investment in machinery and creating this high performance team that we have. But then also on the marketing side and the brand story, it's just like more and more people are getting to hear about Forty Thieves. Our brand awareness is growing, and it's got such a great story, and I love what we do, which is our mission is fueling everyday and epic adventures. And I think it's just resonating with more and more people. And Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like people are, in the digital age where everybody is, we can't help it. We're all attached to our phones. It's like an extra limb. We're always looking. I feel like, I'm sure the research is coming out, but yeah, I think it like muddles your brain a little. I feel like, it's more important now than ever before to be focusing on movement, heading outdoors, hopefully leaving your phone either in your bag or in the car, and actually just looking at nature. What you were saying before about hearing those like noises in the pool,
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I can't imagine many people are focusing on those kind of noises right now in this digital age. But I love that our mission is fueling everyday and epic adventures. And I guess, yeah, I think you're saying more people are resonating with the message and the brand. Maybe people are realizing that actually that's kind of what makes life worth living, is going outdoors, doing that kind of hard stuff, listening, using your ears,
pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and and feeling really good for it at the end of it.
Yeah, I love it.
Smashing PBs is brought to you by Forty Thieves, award-winning producers of New Zealand's tastiest peanut butter, almond butter and superfood butters. Every spoonful is packed with protein, healthy fats and all the goodness you need for fueling everyday and epic adventures. Grab your next jar at your local Woolworths, New World, Pack and Save and the Warehouse supermarkets and start smashing your personal bests.
So when we first met, I'd literally just started running. I had one of my flatmates had said, "Oh, why don't you?" I wanted to exercise. I think I just moved out of home and I was eating too much. I was, I stopped growing. I was 19 years old, so couldn't, the food had to. Anyway, I didn't have money for the gym, and I was at uni, and my flatmate was like, "Why don't you go running around the block?"
Yeah.
And I remember saying, "Running around the block? I'm not gonna. That's not me. I don't do that." He said, "Just give it a go." I was, okay, so I did it. Anyway, I met you a couple of days later, and I remember you said to me, "Oh, what did you get up to today?" And I was like, "I went for a run." And you were like, "Oh."
Yeah, I remember that moment.
And I remember being like, "Oh, he liked the idea that I went for a run." So at the time, anyway, I ended up going on like a streak for like 7 months of running every single day. Just a short amount, not very fast, et cetera, but I did it. My question for you is, what would our relationship be like if I guess I hadn't got into running at that time? What do you think if we didn't share this thing, what would be different?
I think running is something that you're passionate about, and so in this case, we're both passionate about running, which is really positive, because I think we have a realization that we both have a little bit of give and take. So we make time for each other to get in that exercise and to go for your run. I think we both realize that working at Forty Thieves is high pressured, and it's such, like, both of us after a run feel so good. We've got mental clarity afterwards. We've got endorphins. The mood's so much better, and you're just a better human in person to run your team, to run your family after the run. So I think we realize, if you don't run, or if you haven't started running yet,
or any exercise, I guess, for that matter.
You probably don't realize the benefits that running gives you. But it doesn't mean that if you don't run, I think as long as you still got a passion for something, and realizing if somebody does run and someone else in the relationship does not run, as long as you give that person the space to do what they need to, I think you can make it work. So whether it's a creative outlet or music outlet, or even just going for a walk, so it's just finding the time and giving each other that space to do what you need to be a better human.
I like that. No, that's good. You answered well. You didn't say I wouldn't have stuck around, so that's good to hear. Thought I'd put you on the spot. No, that's super interesting. I think, look, obviously, I've tried to run with you, and you are way too fast for me. I think the only time I've ever been able to keep up is when you were recovering from pneumonia.
Last year.
You'd had two weeks off, and I think it was your first run back, and it was like the first time that I was like, oh, look how fast I am. I'm keeping up with Brent Godfrey. It doesn't matter if one person is slower or if they're doing, it could be just walking or whatever. But I think that's what's so cool about personal bests, is that you're not comparing to the people around you. You're just comparing to yourself, and you're just trying to push yourself to what you're capable of.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, and such a great podcast as well, because it's all about smashing your personal best. So it's getting out there. Like, I mean, Dom Harvey, who owns Pod Labs, who we're doing the podcast with today, we're actually chatting about it earlier. And we're talking about times, and he's like, oh, wow, I don't even think I can do 1 kilometer at that time. And we're talking about pace. And then we're talking about Kipchoge, who's like, you know, the marathon world record holder. And I was like, I can't even do 1 kilometer at his time.
There's always someone better.
Yeah.
There's always, but it doesn't matter because you're just pushing to your best version.
Yeah, even if you're shaving off, you know, 2 seconds off your time, like that's your new personal best, and you've got a new goal to strive towards to be better. Eventually, I guess you get to a point where you can't actually beat your time anymore.
Yes.
But then you start to look for other challenges that you can do. So like, maybe you can't do your personal best in road running, but then you start to take up off-road running.
Interesting.
And then you try to do new PBs in off-road running, or you constantly challenge yourself, and I think that's so cool. Yeah.
I have more on that. I think there's also a part. So I guess when you look at times or personal bests, it's very focused on that moment, you know, like what you achieved in that moment, and it's only about the running. But I guess as a mother of 3 and, you know, co-owner of 40 Thieves, there's so many other things that go into like your life. And so for me right now, I'm not running that fast, but if I think about all the other things that I'm managing, and I'm still managing to get out there for a couple of runs a week, for me, that's my personal best for right now.
Yeah.
And I think, I guess like what you were saying, you might switch discipline, or you might be just taking on other parts of your, you know, in your life that are kind of like what you said about uni. Maybe you couldn't swim as fast, but maybe holistically you're a little bit happier because you got to do some fun stuff and hang out with some cool people.
Yeah. There's so many different stages in life, and you just got to make the most of each stage. And
nice.
Right now, like what you're saying about your stage and where you're at in life, you've set yourself new targets and personal bests for outside of work, and then your exercise, and it's just about making sure you're progressing and continuing to try break what you've set yourself.
Yeah, no, that's great. On that note, races. So you've obviously done a lot of races. I'd love, first of all, maybe just share your best time for, say, I don't know, what's your favorite distance?
I wouldn't say it's my favourite distance, but it's probably the most challenging distance is the marathon.
Okay, so what's your best time in a marathon?
In New Zealand, I did the Auckland Marathon last year, and my best time in New Zealand is 2:38 for the marathon.
That's very fast.
What
did you come in the race?
I think I got 11th.
That's pretty cool. So
I can't actually remember.
That's
I think it was
in the zone.
Nearly the top 10, I think.
Yeah, that's very cool. What about? I guess that's 42 kilometers of just push the whole time. What goes through your head? How do you sing? Do you talk? Do you chant? What on earth? What are you doing? What are you doing in your brain when you're in there?
It's a long race. So when the gun goes, you feel really good at the beginning, but you got to pace yourself. And normally the first thing I do is I look for other runners that are sort of like similar pace to me and try to form a bit of a pack. And this last race that we had, the Auckland Marathon, was pretty windy, and it was really great forming a pack with similar like-minded individuals and people I hadn't actually ever met before as well. And people are cracking jokes. Like
so you guys can actually talk while you're running at that
we
pace?
throw a few words in, and we're cracking jokes, and it's all fun and games for the first 32 kilometers, and then the marathon actually starts.
Okay. So the last 10, that's the killer.
Yeah. You got to get to 32 Ks feeling comfortable, and the last 10 Ks is when the hard work actually starts. And that's when you got to push. Everyone's hurting, and by that stage, it's just like holding on and no, there's no more talking after 32 kilometers. It's just like head down, focus, and trying to get to the finish line.
What about a race that hasn't gone your way? That's you're sort of describing your best case scenario. What's the worst case scenario?
Yeah, I think if I had to look back, it was probably a surf lifesaving race that I did. I'd been training all season really hard on the Malibu board. It's the long board that you have and you knee down on it. I'd been really working on that craft, and in the squad training, I was coming out like top, and I was confident I was going to win this little carnival. And I think I wanted to get the edge, and my dad had just bought me back then these goo gels. And
pretty popular now.
they're new.
Vintage.
Yeah, and I thought I'm gonna get the little bit of advantage on the competition. I'm gonna pop this goo gel before the race, and I remember I spiked in sugar just as I had the goo gel, and I just crashed. Like, I had the sugar crash. I hit the water. The first 200 meters out to the can was really great, and I was just paddling, and then I just crashed, and it was like the worst feeling I'd ever had.
Wow.
And everyone was just passing me, and it was almost like I just couldn't go. And the key learning for me from that day was like, you got to train and use the nutrition you're going to use on the race.
You don't try something new.
Don't try
on the
anything
day.
new on race day.
Wow.
And I know now my body doesn't react very well to sugars before a race.
Interesting.
So I always fuel with something like oats and nut butter. I try keep it to like complex carbs and good quality fats before a race. But then during the race, I'll use goos still, or more teen gels, because once the body's going,
It actually needs that little
it needs
pick-me-up.
the sugar. Your body can absorb you've got the insulin, you can absorb the sugar and continue racing. So yeah, but that was probably one of the worst races I'd ever had.
Wow.
And I remember crying on my board out there. Having worked so hard all season and then trying to paddle back, and it was just real devastating.
I guess that builds resilience. Like, if you don't fail, then you don't know what to change. And you also, I think when you do fail at something, you eventually get over it, and then you realize, oh, okay, if I can fail at that, well, failure's not actually as bad as it seemed.
Yeah.
Is that the case for you, or is there any examples where you can bring like acceptance of failure into your work life, into 40 Thieves?
Yeah, I mean, we've failed so much, and I think I think that's the key thing, is like fail fast, learn, and fail less often. So yeah, I think it's better to fail earlier on. And I think a good example, you'll probably remember the tears from this one, is we're so excited about scaling up 40 Thieves, and we'd been making nut butters and blenders up until this point, selling them at farmers markets.
These are the early days.
Yeah, the early days.
Two staff members, me and you.
Yeah, we did everything together. And I don't know, how many blenders did we get through? About 4 blenders.
Yeah.
We realized, okay, business is scaling up at the markets. We need to buy a mill.
Yeah.
We'd saved up enough money. We had some funds that we brought over from Sydney, and we put quite a bit of money into this mill that we had bought from China, not doing a lot of due diligence, and just thinking, hey, buy any mill and it's going to work.
Anything could surely be better than those blenders.
Than blenders. We brought over this mill, and we'd roasted up some almonds, I think.
Yes, I think we were using the oven.
Yeah, and we chucked the almonds in, and it just came out as this dry, lumpy paste.
I can see it.
And it was the slowest moving thing I'd ever seen. And after all this investment and sweat and tears, I was just absolutely devastated with this piece of equipment. I was ready to throw in the towel there and then.
Wow.
But we kept going.
That's crazy. I mean, that was year 1. That was really early days. But you're right. Like, it was better to fail then like now we're literally in the process of buying some very expensive machinery, and you are meticulous.
Yeah.
You have watched, when most people sit at home and watch videos about cats, Brent watches videos about peanut butter machines. So I mean, obviously that's currently on the cards. We've got a brand new line coming in, but maybe that early failure has helped make sure that this time, this machine.
We've got really robust systems now and processes in place for when we do now acquire new equipment. So yeah, I guess it's taking those learnings and applying them.
Not being scared of failure.
Yeah, that's right.
So we obviously, with those new machines that we're talking about, we showed our team I did want to talk about the team a little bit. I guess, you seem to know how to re-engage the team. Like you say today, you mentioned no jars. That's actually today's problem. But how do you re-engage the team? How do you stay calm and lead from the front when things go wrong? And do you think that your early days in sport, and even as team captain in some of your disciplines, do you think that's helped in the way you lead?
Yeah, I think it's certainly helped. So I was team captain of cross country, water polo, and swimming, and often, like especially if you're playing like a difficult sports team, you have to have a bit of a scrum together, a huddle, and figure out like what is the most strategic way that we're going to put our team players in to win. And it's almost like that every day. Like we've got our team and we have a bit of a huddle most mornings, and we figure out like what's the day going to look like, and who's going to be best placed where, and strategically for that day, and to yield us the best results. So that's what I like to call a high performance team. So yeah, we and I think it's like, captains, the way I was mostly captain was because you'd lead from the front, you'd lead by example, and you'd have to work hard and push yourself. But then also there's a lot of pressure, both in sport and in business. And when things do go wrong, it's like not getting too worked up about it.
Yeah,
I think
keeping your cool, not storming out.
Yeah. Like if you need to, often, like, I think that was the key thing, like being captain in a sports team helped to build resilience, which I could now apply to what we're doing in our production team environment, where, often a machine will go down or break or things haven't arrived perfectly. And it's so easy in a stressful, noisy environment to get worked up and just vent almost.
Yes.
But it's staying calm, taking 10 minutes out and thinking of a rational plan of how we're going to resolve it.
Awesome.
And every problem has a solution, but you just got to step back and calmly think about how you're going to create the solution to that problem.
You stop, you reflect.
Yeah.
And then you address the problem.
Yeah, I think the easy thing is to let the problem continue and exist, or you can take it head on and, as a team, collectively come up with a solution, or like, what is the next steps that's going to, be the best for today.
Awesome. I love it. What advice do you have for someone starting out with running or a sport, or even if you prefer, what advice do you have for someone who wants to start a business?
It's good just to set up some small targets. It might be, if you've never run before, trying to run for 3 minutes and then walk for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks' time, drop that by 30 seconds. Try run now for 3.5 minutes and walk for 3.5 minutes.
Baby steps.
So yeah, just slowly increase what you're doing. And the other thing is to be accountable. So it's like, it's really easy. They say it takes about 2 months to build
a habit?
A habit, yeah. So if you can get to the 2-month mark and continue.
That's it, you're locked and loaded.
You're locked and loaded, you got the endorphins, you start to realize the benefits that running brings, or any sport in that matter. But it's good to have a partner that you can do it with. I know, for example, there's a few days in the week where I meet up with some runners, and it's so easy just to continue working on the laptop, or especially if it's raining, it's cold outside, it's just so easy not to go out and run. And if I didn't have other buddies that were waiting for me to meet up with and go for that run, I probably wouldn't run some of those days.
So pick a couple of people, similar pace, similar goals, and just go together.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
I think you got to choose you got to be quite selective with who you choose you're going to partner up with, because if you're the one that's the motivator, well then you need to help the one that's less motivated. But you got to be careful, like not choosing someone who's also not as motivated as you, because then you both aren't going to succeed.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, the business, any tips for anyone wanting to start a business?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of perceptions out there that being a business owner has got a great work-life balance. I don't think that always holds true, at least not for us anyway. And you got to put in a lot of hard work to see that success. And it almost feels like I'm back swimming, but in a different arena this time.
Yep.
You know, like it's twice a day, putting that hour and a half in the morning and evening, like working really hard. I thought we worked really hard in Sydney when we did those 10, 12-hour days and working in corporate.
Yeah.
And I mean, since starting 40 Thieves, like you don't really ever switch off. Like, but the thing is, like we both, like I think we realize what we're doing and the vision and the mission, which we want to see completely through.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about what we do. I think when you've got the passion, like, you know, I had the passion for swimming and running, like I've got that passion also for what we're doing here. And I think it's just such a great product that we're producing and the mission that we're pushing with the people out there. Because we're both involved in the business, and it's also a great thing is that we can download with one another. It's almost like you were talking about running and like how it's good to find a partner that you're accountable to. I guess we're both accountable to each other. Well, we both look after different parts of the business. You more sales marketing, I'm more finance operations. But we often come together with that strategic longer term thinking, and we'll often bounce ideas off one another. And it's really cool to have someone who's in the exact same position as you, as your little training partner.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm stoked to be your partner in life and business. No, I think we're, as you say, an awesome team. And I guess for anyone wanting to start a business, it's first of all, know what you're getting yourself into. Social media makes it look glossy. But in reality, not only are you putting in those 10 to 12 hour days, but you're also sleeping and dreaming about it too.
And I'd probably add just one more thing to that, is that sometimes you do need a sprint in a race, like at the start. For example, a park run, you might be up at the front or even at the marathon, the start of a marathon, and you do have to sometimes put in that little bit extra. You got to sprint. But if you can't continue at that pace, it's not sustainable. But you also don't want to be out the back fighting people with prams and dog walkers, because otherwise that's going to really impact your time. So it's knowing when to sprint and when to work hard, but also knowing when do you get to that level where you can just continue to maintain for the rest of the race. And it's almost like that with 40 Thieves. It's like some days you're going to have to sprint to get ahead and put in that extra effort. But then there's other days where, you know, like it's not sustainable. You're going to have to pull back when you can. And I think that's probably the same in most businesses. Yeah.
And also for sport. I love it.
Yeah.
That is so good. It's almost the ebbs and flows. You know, you need to know when you're up, when you can slow down a little bit, and then, you know, there's another peak on its way very soon.
Yeah, I think our biggest sprint that we've just had was the category review with Foodstuffs North Island, and man, I'm glad we sprinted for that because we've come up with some good results.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, every single New World and Pack and Say will have our peanut butters on shelf. So yeah, you're right. That was the most epic sprint we've had. But I don't know. I don't know when the downtime's coming, but I heard you, so I'm waiting for it. I'm super, super pumped about this very first episode. I think you blew expectations on how well it went.
We'll let the audience decide that.
Yeah, but no, it was so good hearing you share everything. And I even learnt a few things about you that I didn't know. So there you go.
Great to be your first guest, and really looking forward to hearing the other guests that are going to be on this podcast.
Got a pretty cool lineup coming up.
I think I am probably, like, in terms of celebrity ranking, like at the bottom, because there are some amazing people coming onto this podcast next, and I can't wait to hear all of them.
I've got a final question. Smooth or crunchy?
Oh, thanks for letting me be your first guest, and it's definitely crunchy.
Crunchy. All right, I'll see you out there. Smashing
PBs. Nice.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Smashing PBs, brought to you by 40 Thieves, New Zealand's best peanut butter for fueling every day in epic adventures. If this episode inspired you, please like, subscribe and share with like-minded legends. Now go grab a jar of 40 Thieves from your local supermarket and start smashing PBs.